Huge, confusing, all looks the same. It feels a bit like the biggest hotel I've ever been in. You sort of wander down panelled corridors for what feels like years, then you get a faint smell of some kind of catering facility and you get your bearings by which tea room you're next to. It's very friendly, however. Lots of the doormen, the door ladies, police people everywhere. The minute you look lost, for literally a nanosecond, somebody comes and grabs you and helps you find where you want to go. So it's brilliant. But definitely. Well, funnily enough, my husband Phil and I, we did do the tourist tour over Christmas, actually before the general election, because I'd never really been. So we actually went on that tour and it was fantastic, so I definitely recommend it. And actually, constituents can come if they want to come to listen to PMQs or any of the debate. They can come any time at all, just have to get in touch with my office and we can arrange that. I mean, it's absolutely massive. I think it's probably the biggest thing on my mind at the moment. You only have to open a newspaper, look on Rightmove. The price of property for rental and purchase is just too fast. The rise in prices is simply too fast. And although people get that, and people talk about, yes, we need more properties for our children, our grandchildren, etc., I think people are finally starting to cotton on to the fact that it's not just a nice to have. This area will start to fail. I talk to businesses all the time. Their employees, perhaps at the lower end of the pay scale, have no hope of living here. And that economic model then would risk it falling apart. So the first thing I did, actually the first proper meeting, I suppose, after election, was last Friday, so just over a week ago from now, where I encouraged South Cambs Council to come together. We had planning officers from the county as well as South Cambs. We had the Director of Planning, the Director of Housing. We're going to invite, in fact the press were there, we're going to invite some housing developers to come along. We need to look at different ways of fixing our affordable housing here. And yes, the plans with the inspector at the moment, and that's kind of the process that we need to go through. But waiting for the process to go through isn't going to fix it. So for me, it's every empty house, it's every village. Can we find little spots for 4 houses, 5 houses? It's that real attention to detail. And it's working with developers. And I'm a business person, so I'm not afraid to say, I want to see your profits actually. How does it start? That day you see that field, from that day to the day when you put the first shovel in the ground, I want to know about your costs along the journey. Let's be open, let's do this in the spirit of, you want sustainable business, you want to be seen as a developer who, looks after the local community. Let's see where we can take cost out of that process, because ultimately you take cost out and you can get more affordable houses in there. So that's the kind of stuff I'm starting to work on already. I suppose my experience in life to date it's around honest, unafraid relationships with people. I'm not going to go to DCLG, bang on the table and say this isn't good enough, your policies don't work in real life, for example. I want to go with examples, I want to go with information, with statistics about things that creatively that we're doing locally to say, look, we need to change this, or help me to help you to help us. I think government understands the power of the Cambridgeshire region, but I don't think it really understands it. We can then start getting debates about devolution, etc. I want government to work with us, because ultimately if this area continues to prosper and isn't hampered by the housing, the transportation issues, we can only contribute more to the UK economy, so it's in everybody's interests. But I need to get them to open their eyes to see that. It has to be all of it together. And it's interesting, you're right, there's little campaigns here, there's bits here, but it's too piecemeal. As MPs and local authorities, we have so got to work together. And I'm the youngest Labrador on the block. I'll bounce along and say, come on, let's all work together, because we can't, this economic region, the effect potentially it can have on the wider region means we have to think beyond our own little patches. So yes, I've already started conversations with Jonathan Chinogly about the A428, for example, as far as Suffolk Coastal to raise coffee, because the A14 starts over there and comes across, so we need to start working together strategically. And I used to talk about this blank white piece of paper before the election. Yep. I still have it. I'm starting to scribble on it now. But we have got to join together. And again, it's presenting that wider economic argument to government that says, the Stansted link, for example, need that fixing. Are we going to go across to Oxford? Instead of looking at these individual things, like a business would do, when you're developing your 5-year, 10-year plan, you don't just look at that department, and that department. Think business-wise, together what do we want to achieve? And I pull in all my senior managers and we get together and discuss it. So that's the kind of stuff I've started to do, but I've got so much more. I suppose it's helping to gather that information, isn't it? And statistical information, facts. Let's try and keep emotion out of it. Let's look at the hard facts of why it's good. Let's look at road use. Let's look at the economic pull that means that people need to get from A to B. And it's helping me to gather opinions of people. I want to be a conduit for all that knowledge, all that information, all that experience that residents and businesses have here. Cambridge Ahead, for example, as an organisation I'm working quite closely with already, because they speak on behalf of a lot of the big businesses and employers in the region, and it's people helping me to pull those views together, so that when I'm going to fight for something centrally, it's with all this information standing behind me, and I'm the conduit through where that needs to come. So I just want people to come together and help me do that. And it's the benefit of all children, actually, isn't it, if we get it right? As you probably know, historically it's a funding formula that we've been working with for a very long time. It's massively outdated. We were until recently the lowest funded. I think we're about the lowest, bottom 10 now, something like that, because we had an injection of money. And if it wasn't so worrying, it would make me smile. Cambridge, education. Is there a pair of words that you would ever, associate more closely than that? And yet our funding is so low. And standards now are starting to slip. Secondary education, it's every level, it's not just primary or secondary, it's everything together. And a lot of work has been done already. There's quite a powerful lobby group of MPs, because it's not just Cambridge that has this problem, but nationally, called F40. Met with them this week. I'm already chatting to Daniel Zeichner in the city about how we're going to work together on that. Prior to the election, I got in touch with some of the teachers' unions. I've met with governors, and again, as we were talking before, it's about getting this knowledge together. And for me, it takes administrative bravery, actually, not necessarily political. This is about, we don't want more, we just want fair funding. And the difference between those of us that are significantly underfunded, who literally have to think about whether they can use the photocopier and whether pupil premium or fix the roof on the school building. It's literally at that level now. And you look at other schools that are so overfunded that they almost don't know what to do with the money. We have to find a way of bringing that funding fair, and that's an administrative task for me. That shouldn't be political anymore. And again, like a business person, I'll take that information, those examples of what happens when funding is so significantly lower than it should be, and we take those to Nicky Morgan and central government. And in fact, I'm going to probably mention it in my maiden speech. Lovely. Let them know it's coming. It's funny you should ask that, because just this week I got together, funny, before the election, I met quite often with CAP, the Cambridge Area Partnership, and also STEM Team East, another organisation I'm sure you know, who really focus on the STEM subjects, so maths, engineering, etc. Because, as an ex-business person, seeing the quality of some of the CVs that my poor husband Phil now has to wade through when he's looking for new employees, there is, and that was Hertfordshire, but the principle is the same. There is often this gap between kids coming out of school with the right qualifications but being ready for the workplace. And from the very beginning I was very clear that these are the sorts of things where I thought naturally I could lend skills. And I've ended up on the email list for CAP actually, and I'm going, I forget the date, it's in a few weeks' time. It happens to be on a Friday, so I can do it. I'm actually going to go in and do part of the CAP team, do some careers talks and CV writing courses. I think it's at Bassingbourne, I forget which school it is. So if you can't lead by example any more than that, then I want, like everybody in this constituency, Heidi is here to help. So don't be frightened, open the door, let's have a go, together let's make things different. And I think if I can show that I'm that committed to doing it, that's how important it is. I know businesses are dying to get in there, then maybe I can try and help break some of that down. I think it's a great idea. Skills, as you will know, is also heavily involved, it's on the City Deal agenda, and there is extra funding to facilitate that, and I know CAP are heavily involved in that. I think it's a great idea, but like all these things, it's about getting the schools that have perhaps been less interested in the past keen to come, and whether we can help promote that together. Because it's that whole taking a horse to water. If they've not wanted to go to water so far, why are they suddenly going to come to this? But I think in principle, I think it's a fabulous idea, because in this part of the world, education and business. That's why we are so successful here, and we need to make sure that we don't take that for granted, and every child and every school therefore has the opportunity to develop on that. Yep. I think the first thing to say is that, we do it in partnership or not at all. Nobody likes the new manager or in a business context coming in and saying what you're doing is rubbish. You have to work in partnership. I suppose it as I've got into politics at this time, that the public purse strings are tightening, and we have to get better value for money. And in my business life, that's what I've done, for almost 20 years now, either running a small business or when I worked at Royal Mail. That was about a transition between a very public sector organisation. How can we get smarter? How can we start to look at profit and loss? And they're skills that I hope to bring. But I want to do it in the context of, I talk about Team South Cams now, but let's talk about Team Cams. We are in this together. We want our public authorities to be more efficient and deliver for people, because that's better for the people that live here, the people that work here, the businesses here, the people who are educated here. So I want us to all together feel that sense, that cultural shift of kind of we've grown. Crumbs, now we need to get more efficient to manage this growth going forward. And I want to be part of that, but I want to push. This has to be something we do together. So, my relationship with the local authorities will grow. It's very strong with South Cams. The county, I've spent some time there, but I need to spend more time there. I think the city deal will naturally facilitate that again, because we have to work together in partnership. But, I'm a critical friend. I want to try and help. And sometimes as an MP, maybe that's just being, again, that conduit that encourages to have meetings about things, forums about things, workshops to discuss how we can do things better. Just that energy and saying, come on, we can do this together. I honestly don't think it matters. I really don't. Ultimately, we're all people who have been selected by people because they think we're the best people to do the job. So red, yellow, green, pink and purple makes no difference at all. It's about saying, you want to do the best thing for your residents in your area, I want to do the same here. How collectively are we going to do that together? I think more than ever in the history of this part of the world, Cambridgeshire, we are growing, we need to do that together. So I'm quite annoying in the way I just come on, you are going to be my friend. I know you don't want to be, you are going to be my friend. And I just keep going and say, all right then. Because we've got to do this together. I have no time at all to worry about because you're red or blue. Just let's get over it. Let's just get on.
On that note, Heidi Allen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Anthony Carpen and I'm a community filmmaker here in Cambridge, and I was the person who filmed and interviewed Heidi Allen in the interview clip that you've just seen. I'm going to be undertaking a series of regular interviews with local politicians in and around Cambridge to allow them to update us, the general public, on what they've been doing inside the councils and inside Parliament, and also out and about working on our behalf as citizens and local residents. I'm intending to interview our members of Parliament on a monthly basis to allow them to update us on what debates they've been taking part in the House, and also explaining some of the decisions that are being taken by the government and how they're going to impact us locally. These extended interviews are not interviews that are done by the mainstream media, but also at the same time, I don't get paid to do these interviews. As the saying goes, freedom isn't free and democracy is not a spectator sport. If you feel that these interviews are important for the democratic life of Cambridge and important for just updating and informing the general public on the work that our local elected representatives do, then please support the work that I'm doing by clicking on the link below to see how you can support me. Thank you very much.